Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I like to apologize in advance because I couldn't find a whole lot of images on this discussion that I'm doing today. So you're going to have to just work with the one or two pictures that I have up for the video. So People magazine investigates the University of Cosmic Intelligent Code. That's a long title, y'all. Documentary on Max, HBO Max. So we're talking about this cult called the University of Cosmic Intelligence. This was my first time hearing about this. I have not. I'm on TikTok a lot. I'm on social media a lot, like most of us are. But the algorithm will kind of cater to you what you are looking at the most. So I had never heard of this guy, this Rashad Jamal, who aspiring rapper, or I guess I could say rapper because he did make music, turned cult leader. Now, in this documentary, it's being told through the mouths of people that either followed him, people that were trying to take him down for what he had did, and also his ex-girlfriend who he also has a child with. So we start off with her pretty much. With documentaries, you go back and forth between different narrators. Um, but so she was saying, I moved to Atlanta. I was trying to do my music thing, and they were on the same record label, and she was told they were going to be doing music together. And so then they started dating, got into a relationship, had a baby and everything. Um, Meanwhile, during the pandemic, that's when he started, I guess, uploading videos, right? The pandemic is a very interesting time because I feel like a lot of things changed in people's lives and society. None of us had experienced anything like that before, where it just took over. You're just stuck in a house. I was an essential worker, so I still went to work every day, but it was still like, okay, I can't come over your house, you can't come over mine, and you can't go to the salon. You see what I'm saying? So that was a time where a lot of people were just at home on the internet. That's actually when I started my YouTube channel in 2020. So he starts his thing and it just starts to escalate. Um, it goes into like, it starts off with like, the natural stuff, the crystals, um, meditation and things like that. And then he gets a little more radical later on. And so a few other people that were in this documentary, this lady was, I think it was her sister or her friend, but anyway, she was like, she always kept her hair done nice and makeup and stuff, and then she went natural, and um she made it. I kind of took offense to that because like she's used to seeing her in a certain aesthetic, right? um but she was kind of making it seem like natural means unkept. I get where she's coming from because she's basically saying that wasn't her friend's thing until she started following this Rashad dude. Um, but yeah, I was just a little like, what you mean? I mean, you can be cute with some natural hair. What do you? But anyway, um, her friend started to drastically change, belonging to this cosmic intelligent group. And so during the documentary, they're showing these different clips from people on TikTok, YouTube, whatever, just discussing what this guy was talking about. Talking, I want to say this. I feel like, given the history of Black Americans, and I'm speaking of Black Americans at this point because that's what I am, that's my experience. I feel like we are kind of always wanting to belong to something great because our history in this country, if you really think about it, and before y'all get in the comments talking about some, I've never been enslaved, I know that, but I'm gonna say this anyway. We're the only people in this country that have been enslaved longer than free. Like, if you think about it, slavery ended in 1865, right? That was that was under 200 years ago. Whereas human bondage, aka slavery, lasted twice as that, right? Maybe even a little more. And then after slavery, you still had Jim Crow for how many other decades? So I feel like we are always, because no one wants to be like, damn, the legacy of my people was human bondage for almost half a millennium. So I feel like we are constantly searching for um, searching for something to belong to that is great, where we can say, but I am this, And I think that a lot of times people like this Rashad guy knows that, right? For example, there's a movie called In Too Deep with LL Cool J and Omar Epps. It's a really good movie. Check it out if you haven't. Well, LL Cool J plays a drug dealer, big time drug dealer, right? And Omar Epps is playing this undercover cop who's trying to take him down. And so he's in the car. And what's crazy is his name is God in the movie, LL Cool J. And Omar Epps' name is J. Reed. That was his undercover name. And he said, Black people in this country want to feel like they are a part of something. And even though that's a, fictional movie, whatever, but it's true. And I think that's why a lot of times it's so easy for us to get into this stuff like, we are, um, now the type of stuff they were talking about, I think is really, really, really out there. But I think people know you can take advantage of a group of people that have been disenfranchised a lot. Um, Now I know there's people that will say, well, actually, the Atlantic slave trade wasn't just in the U.S. It was in the West Indies. It was in South America, right? The difference is by the time they made it to the U.S., I think if I'm not mistaken, the U.S. was one of their last stops. Black people have always been a minority in this country, whereas in Jamaica they're the majority. Whereas in Brazil, it's I'm gonna say majority black / mixed race. We've always been a minority here. So I think it makes a difference when you are the descendants of slavery and you're the minority in that country versus the majority. So it's that's why I try to get my words together. People like this guy, he understands that and he speaks to people who I feel are searching for that. Now, I'm not saying that all black people are searching for, I'm just saying people that join cults or fall into cults, they're looking for acceptance. That's what I'm trying to say. They're looking for acceptance in something. So his girlfriend is just talking about, during an interview, how he's just getting more and more radical, calling himself a god, calling himself a messiah, and all these things. Um, which I, for the life of me, just don't understand how you as a person can believe another human being is a god. But hey, you know, I'm not a psychologist. I don't know how all that works. So she says her 11-year-old daughter, came to her and told her Mommy, sit down. I have to tell you something. And and I knew when she said that, I was like, oh my God, I know where this shit's gonna go. She said that he had me touch him or let me touch him. And you already know what she touched because it wouldn't have been, you know, you just know, right? So I'm like, oh God, here we go, another cult with some pedophile stuff going on. What is the correlation between cults and pedophilia and sex abuse and physical abuse? What is that about? Because every documentary that I've seen of a cult, like a cult that's really like notorious, well known, that's always a factor. It's always something with children and physical abuse. It's like it goes hand in hand with the cult, sex abuse and physical abuse. What is that about? Like, do pedophiles say, okay, I'm going to start this little cult, this little organization, and people are just going to bring me their kids? Like, I don't understand. I've never understood that. And I also don't understand as a parent how you can bring your kids into that shit. Like, if you as an adult with free will, if you want to join a cult, go ahead. But why bring I would rather you be a fucking deadbeat and leave your kids at the fire station and go join a cult than to bring your kids into that shit because they don't have a choice. And when you're a child, you are looking at your parents as the ones to keep you safe, to keep you from harm. You trust your parents without a doubt until they let you get violated. You see what I'm saying? So as soon as she found that, she, pressed charges on him. Long story short, with that part, he did end up getting convicted and going to jail for, I think he got I think it was like 20 years or 18 years, and he got some probation or something afterwards. And he still has followers that believe that he's innocent and everything. And during the documentary, there's this guy, older black gentleman, who his thing is he finds missing people, and shout out to him because that's a wonderful thing to do because there's so many missing people that we don't know, have a clue where they are. But he gets into the story because a woman he was dealing with has his child and she just disappeared. She was very vague about letting him know where she was. He's just trying to figure out, are y'all okay? Is my daughter okay? So he finally ends up finding his daughter. He gets a court order for full custody. And I'm like, you know what? Shout out to that judge, man, that gave that man full custody of his daughter. He ends up finding her and she's scared because she was told that he died. And I'm like, what the? Her mama's crazy as hell because the little girl was telling the daddy that she was always talking to herself. I think she had a mental problem for real. And come to find out, when the daddy was looking at the computer of Rashad, the little girl gasped and was like, that's the man that hurt me. And I'm like, oh my God. So they didn't go into detail, which I'm glad. We don't need details of that. But he was saying that she went into more detail with the caseworker or whoever about what he did. At this point, he was locked up already, if I'm not mistaken. She was basically saying that while the kids would watch cartoons, one of the men would get in the bed with one of the little girls. And it's like, so basically, if it's one of the men will get in the bed with the little girl, so basically we have more pedos in this organization. It's just, I had so many emotions watching this because I try not to be judgmental, but I just don't understand how you can bring your kids in this. Now, one of the other plots, I guess, I don't know if you consider it a plot since it's a documentary, but I'll say another one of the stories in this documentary are the six missing people. Back to the one woman who was saying her friend went natural and stuff. Well, her kids and I think two, three other people, six people in total went missing. Around the time I think he was getting convicted or something. And I'm watching this documentary because, like I said, it's going back and forth. We're talking to the dad. We're talking to the Rashad's ex-girlfriend. We're talking to, some reporters on the case. And then we're hearing about this missing person case. And I was like, man, did they find him at the end? But the way the woman was talking, the one that was her friend, she was crying and stuff. And I was like, man, they either didn't find them at the end of this documentary or they're dead. Well, they just haven't found them. And so at the end of the documentary, they're showing, if you have anything, the one of the girls, she got a tattoo on her left side of her chest. And I'm just like thinking, okay, they've been missing for 3 years. One of the things is with pedophilia being a part of this thing, this organization, this cult, they were talking about how these children could be in real danger because it's like, y'all aren't working anywhere, not on the books. So you have to do something for money. And it's like, it's one thing if you're a grown woman and you want to sell your ass, but are you making are these children being sexually exploited so y'all can, you know what I'm saying, get some money? We don't know. I'm hoping that this documentary will bring them forward. I hope everyone's still alive and doing well. It's just sad and sick because the dad was saying came home from work one day, and this was after he got custody of his daughter, and she ran over and took off his shoes and socks, and he was like, "What are you doing?" She was like, "Well, I have to do this because you're the man." And I'm like, so they had these little girls. It's just sad. Now, there's something I don't understand though about one thing I don't understand about the documentary is when he got in touch with his child's mother, she told him that she had another baby that was his. But when he went to get his daughter, he didn't get the other child. So, and he didn't really touch on that in the documentary. So I'm wondering if for legal reasons he couldn't, and maybe he can't say something. Is he waiting on the DNA test? I don't know, because I'm like, man, so I would have got both of my babies. But like I said, I don't know the ins and outs of that, so I guess I can't really say nothing on him about that. I was just wondering what happened where he couldn't get the other baby. But I'm going to close with this, man. Look, you really have to think for yourself. It's one thing to follow people and listen to, like, there's people that I listen to online that I really love. Like, I really love Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker. He calls himself the hip hop preacher. He's one of my favorite motivational speakers. But I don't have such an allegiance to anybody where if I find out you on some pedo shit, I'm not going to continue to follow you, period. But shout out, y'all, to all my subscribers. Shout out to the rest of you who are not subscribed. But you can by hitting that button for me. I very much appreciate it because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of this year. Peace and blessings to every last one of you watching. Until next time.